Management, and I will be your moderator for today's event. Before we invite Pastor Gail to offer prayers, let me start the day today by saying today is an important day, not just because we're here in the beautiful parish of Clarendon, but because we're starting the first in the series of public education and public relations intervention in the parishes across Jamaica. So this meeting here in Clarendon marks the first of 14 parish interventions by the ODPEM, along with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development and the municipal corporations island-wide. So we say welcome to our first town hall, live outside broadcast and mini expo all in one at the Rocky Point Community Center here in Clarendon today, Thursday, July 7, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. So let me first invite Pastor Norval Gale to offer prayers.
Pleasant good afternoon to you all. May I ask you to stand with me as we go to the Lord in prayer. Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before your divine presence, even now at this junction in our life. And so we are grateful that you have given us this opportunity, this access. We come to you not wavering in our faith, citizens and servant of your kingdom. We come, divine God. We ask that you would lead us and that you would direct us. Let your very presence be in this place, and that what we do at the end of the day will give you honor and will give you glory. Father, we lift up our very being before you, and we ask that you will take full control. We ask that you would guide us, that you would protect us, and that, Lord, all that we do and all that we say will give you honor and will give you glory. Father, be in our midst. Be all that we ought to be, and help us, Lord, that as we strive, we will strive to be what you have called us to be. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord, the people of God say, amen.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Gail. Okay, thank you very much, Pastor. This time I'd like to acknowledge Audley Thompson, the head of Rural Water, and we also have the head of the SDC here. Can you stand for me so we just acknowledge you? Thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. And we also acknowledge Mr. Evan Thompson, who is joining us. So at this time, I ask you to put your hands together once more as we invite Mayor Mirage to make the welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam White. Let me, in welcoming you all here this evening, I'd like to extend a warm welcome, first of all, to my own Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie. Put your hands together for him being here. And of course, we also have with us the team from ODPEM and the Met Service. Good, who's here? We should see them all the while on TV, right? Yes, now you're seeing them in person. Okay? We have with us here Mr. Andrew Russell, Assistant Commissioner from the Jamaica Fire Brigade, and his team from Clarendon and the region. We also have with us Mr. Edward Muir. We have with us Mr. Edward Muir, who is our Regional Operations Manager for the Southern Parks and Market. And you know that's the agency of the Solid Waste Management Authority, right? Yeah, I know you people have a lot of questions for him, right? But hold it till questions time. Okay. We also have with us Mr. Richard McHarg. He's the Major Project Director from the National Works Agency over there. Could you just stand, let them tell you? See you, sir. National Works Agency. Good. And of course, we have, well, the ODPEM team, but of course, I have to recognize this lady because she's here in my office almost every month. Well, every month. Yes, Mrs. Camille Beckford Palmer. Good. All right. And of course, we have Mr. Evan Thompson and Mr. That's another Richard Thompson over there. I have to apologize for Minister Matthew Samuda, who was slated to be here, but he got held up down in Westmoreland. And he won't be able to make it. By the time he drive come up here, we gone. All right? That's a fact. Member of Parliament, your own Member of Parliament, who is on his way from a meeting in Kingston. But you know, I also have to acknowledge the councillors from the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, and we have Councillor Joel Williams, and we have some more understand outside here and on their way. And Mr. Wayne Brown, who is my acting Chief Executive Officer from the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. Can you stand, let them see you, sir? Good. All right. And then now, we have the team from the Red Cross, who has been here from early today. You need to acknowledge them. Give them a warm welcome. And of course, you heard earlier that Dr. Vernon from the SDC and the entire staff of the SDC who are here with us. Our one parish manager, Mr. Baldwin McKenzie, who is always here with us. Anywhere in the parish you go, you see McKenzie. So he's hard-working gentleman, eh? Put your hands together for the SDC team. And of course, you know, when I walked in out there and I saw Mr. Audley Thompson sitting by himself under that tent, I said, Mr. Thompson, why never carry some more of the team, let them know so your team large. Anyway, Mr. Audley Thompson from the Rural Water Supply Limited is here, as you heard earlier. And you know, they have been doing some wonderful job in Rocky Point. And we have to congratulate Simon Jackson and his team from the Jamaica Public Service Company. He's somewhere around here. Mr. Jackson, where are you? Somewhere around. I saw him earlier before I came in. So we have to acknowledge the JPS people too, eh? And I know you have some questions for him about the street light, I'm not sure. Yes, of course. Good. All right. And we also have the team from National Water Commission. I saw them earlier. Where's the Water Commission team? Oh, around the back there. Yes. Good, good. See? Delano. And the team from National Water Commission. And I'm sure you also have some questions for them too, right, Rocky Point? All right, good. I hear you. And of course, all the other people and the other agencies who are here, it is as well as Rocky Point. I'd like to welcome you all to this town hall meeting this evening. Put your hands together for yourselves. And let me just say that before I say that, yes, we are now in the hurricane season. But that doesn't mean that hurricane is the only disaster or natural disaster. We do have a lot of disasters which this team will tell you about. Eh? Previously, we were facing drought. We had a lot of rain this evening, eh? But then we had an extensive period of drought. And so that in itself is a disaster. And of course, we have earthquakes from time to time. And we do have fires. And we have lots of different types of disaster, which they will tell you about later on. But this area here, the southern section of the parish of Clarendon and the southernmost part of the island of Jamaica as well, you would have remembered that we have been through two major hurricanes. 2004 September, we had Ivan that passed through and wrecked the entire community of Rocky Point, Portland Cottage, Mitchell Town, all the way down to Longwood and surrounding communities. And it took us a long time to recover from Ivan. And whilst we were recovering, then comes the Hurricane Dean. and it put us back to square one again, eh? Yeah, but we didn't sit back and die and roll over and say, no, we can't pick up the pieces. We had to pick up the pieces, we had to go on. And of course, as political representatives, in those days it was Rudyard Spencer who was the MP, myself being the councillor, but we decided that we have to rebuild and we have to do everything that we can to rebuild these communities around. So in Portland Cottage, we rebuilt the community center. We worked on the schools, worked on all the schools there, and not only the primary school, but the basic schools as well. We assisted a number of people in putting back the roofs on and so on. Rocky Point, we did the same thing, and all the communities around in this Rocky Point division, we had to assist people. But in Rocky Point, where we are today, this community center building that we are in, which is named the U. Lawson Shearer Community Building, is as a result of those two hurricanes that damaged Rocky Point. Because what I did, and the Member of Parliament, Roddy Spencer, we sat down with the Citizens Association, the CDC, and we decided that we were going to put together a rebuilding, a strategic redevelopment plan for the community of Rocky Point. So we had to work from that plan. That was our blueprint. So we had to work from that plan that we had, the strategic development plan for Rocky Point. And some of the agencies would have seen it because I would have sent it out to them when we were applying for funds. And so we got the funds from the Chase Fund to build this modern community center. And you see how it's designed, right? It's designed, it's high up off the ground because it's a flood-prone area and so on. And we built it that if we need to put people in here, we have the space to put some people in here, right? And we had bathrooms over there, we have bathrooms over there, and we have kitchen around the back and all kind of things around the back, offices and everything around here. And so this space was designed. Arising out of the strategic development plan, we need a brand new health center for the community because we didn't like the little one that we're in. At that time, now, Roddy Spencer was Minister of Health, so we had to get a health center. So we rebuilt the health center. We got a brand new health center around here. And then we went and we built a brand new market as well. So we have been working for the community people. The most recent development would be the water supply system, which rural water has replaced all the pipelines in this community to ensure that if we have a disaster, as long as Water Commission can pump the water, everybody will have water continuously in their pipelines, right? So we have been working and we have been doing whatever we can for the people of the communities around the area. So I know I'm talking too long, Minister. Yes? Okay, Minister, I'm talking too long. He's the boss. So I just want to say welcome to you all. Everybody put your hands together for yourselves. Thank you very much.
And here to bring greetings on behalf of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, we invite the Acting Director General, Richard Thompson. Make him feel welcome.
Thank you very much, Ms. White. Honorable Minister Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community and Rural Development, Mayor for the parish. You'd have just heard from Mayor Maraj. Ladies and gentlemen, heads of entities, ladies and gentlemen of the community of Rocky Point, good evening. My simple task this afternoon is to bring you greetings from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. But first, I will say quickly that Jamaica as a country is one of the most vulnerable countries in the Caribbean, and we have been impacted more so than any other country in the region in the last 10 to 15 years. The disasters that have impacted us have significantly impacted our people and also our economy. And when we look at parishes in Jamaica in terms of the level of disaster impact that they normally have, the level of disasters that affect parishes and communities in general, Clarendon is classified as the most vulnerable parish on the island. And we are exposed to a number of disaster-related events. You would have heard from Mayor Maraj in some of the events. And one of the most significant events that happens is hurricane and the resulting impact from hurricanes, which is flooding. And so this community of Rocky Point is impacted significantly by flood-related events. And so because we understand in Jamaica how our communities are impacted, many years ago, the ODPEM would have embarked on what we would have classified as building disaster-resilient communities. So the agency continued to do the necessary work and put the necessary activities in place to ensure that we are making communities better than how they were before and being able to withstand disaster events. Because the communities are the lifeblood of our country, and that in terms of the activities of disaster risk reduction measures, communities are really where the rubber hits the road. And so while you're making communities stronger, you're actually building the resilience and economies within communities, and you're ultimately protecting the people. Because what we are trying to do constantly is to ensure that if a disaster should happen in a community, that we won't have a large amount of homes and businesses being impacted. And also, significantly, we want to ensure that no one dies, because one life lost is always one too many. So the work of the agency continues to ensure that we are building resilient communities and we are making our country stronger. So as we move into the hurricane season, and you would hear more from the other Thompson when Evan comes on board to present, as we move into the hurricane season, we want to ensure that we continue as an agency to appeal to our communities. And events like these, which are considered to be soft mitigation measures, to ensure that we are bringing the knowledge to communities and we are engaging communities to have a greater understanding of the risks and how community members need to respond whenever time there are disaster-related events to protect yourself and to protect your family. So as we move into the hurricane season, we want to appeal to communities, and especially to Rocky Point, to listen to the messages of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management and our supporting entities such as the Met Office, the Fire Brigade, and all the other entities. Listen to the Ministry of Local Government in terms of the combined work of all the entities to include and listen to our minister, who has a very strong passion for disaster-related matters. So we appeal to communities to listen to the messages and to do the necessary work in conjunction with the agencies of the state, that is the government of Jamaica, to ensure that we are protecting everyone and we are making our economies better. So this is the first of a number of events that we will have in parishes, and we would have chosen Rocky Point based on the type of disasters that tend to happen in Rocky Point and the significance of the community, not only to the parish of Clarendon, but also to Jamaica as an island. So I greet you well, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you will listen to the message that we have to impart this afternoon, and that you will be better for it, for being here with us throughout the expo and throughout the town hall meeting, and that ultimately the message that we will give to you, you will use it to not only protect yourselves, but to protect your families, especially the children that you have in your families. And I'm seeing a number of kids here this afternoon. And so ultimately it is to ensure that we're protecting families and we are protecting economies. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Richard Thompson, Acting Director General from the ODPEM. At this time, we'll take the presentations. So we'll invite, first of all, Mr. Andrew Russell. He's the Assistant Commissioner for the Jamaica Fire Brigade to make a presentation. Please make him feel welcome.
Thank you very much, moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Kindly permit me to accept the salutation that has been put forward by His Worship the Mayor, as my own. I will now outline to you the role of the Jamaica Fire Management and also the state of readiness of the Clarendon Division. Now, ladies and gentlemen, brigade is to save lives and protect property, and this is enshrined in law in the Jamaica Fire Brigade Act of 1993. Now, the duties entails extinguishing fires, whether it is structural, brush fire, motor vehicle fires, or all sort of fire. It rests with the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Not only does the Jamaica Fire Brigade extinguish fire, but we also protect life and property from other disasters. And when we speak about other disasters, we're talking about earthquake, flood, explosion, oil spills, etc. We inspect buildings to ensure measures are considered in the design of those buildings so that they can mitigate against the effects of fire should it happen. And that is specifically the role of our fire safety inspectors, who are so trained to inspect buildings and make those recommendations. Now, as it relates specifically to disaster management, in case of a fire or other disaster, the Jamaica Fire Brigade is for firefighting and search and rescue operation. The senior fire officer on scene at this incident will assume command and ensure that the incident is brought to a safe conclusion. In order to execute our mandate and duties, the Jamaica Fire Brigade works closely and collaborates with other key agencies like the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Ministry of Health, the Jamaica Defense Force, JPS, NWC, NEPA, the Municipal Corporation, and a lot other local authorities. As it relates specifically to the response capabilities in the Clarendon Division, the Fire Brigade has responded to close to 100 calls in this general area as it relates to Rocky Point, Mitchelltown, and surrounding communities. That means that our role in this part of the parish is very significant and very critical. The Clarendon Division comprised of 73 full-time firefighters with 3 fire engines, one of which is a brand new fire engine, along with other varying type of specialist tools and equipment that assist us firefighters in the execution of our duty. Rocky Point, as we all know it, a low-lying and flood-prone area, and the Jamaica Fire Brigade in recent time has acquired a dinghy for rescue operation during flooding, because we are aware of the continuous effects of flooding in this particular geography. Now, there are 9 firefighters to operate the dinghy. That training ends tomorrow. And our quest is to ensure that by the end of August 2022, at least 50% of the firefighters in the Clarendon Division are trained in specialist water rescue operations. We have also acquired and have in place specialized rescue ropes, which are available at both of our fire stations in the division, particular for search and rescue operations. We have small tools like chainsaws and other equipment that are available to treat with situations during hurricanes and heavy rainfall, and where access to communities like these are blocked due to debris. The Jamaica Fire Brigade depends heavily on the National Works Agency to assist us, that the emergency service can have quick access to this particular geography. Now, the Jamaica Fire Brigade also assists with damage assessment and reconnaissance of affected area so that restoration work after the disaster can commence at earliest. This aerial support from time to time is provided by the Jamaica Defense Force. For general firefighting operations, we have strategically placed at the Mapen Fire Station a water tender containing 10,000 liters of water to provide support for firefighting, should in case there are shortage of water in this particular area. And there's also the possibility of the fire department to lift water from the sea to assist us in our firefighting operation. And this would be achieved, ladies and gentlemen, through the use of 2 portable pumps that are available within the division to treat with situations like this. We have also acquired and have in place hydraulic cutting tools, which are known to many of us as jaws of life, which we use to extricate people from motor vehicle equipment available within this geography. Now, there are obvious operational challenge for us as an agency. One is the distance that we have to travel from Mapen, which is our closest fire station, to get to Rocky Point and its environs. And also, another challenge that we have identified is the lack of an emergency medical service for us to render pre-hospital medical care to our citizens here. Now, the JFB plans to mitigate against these operational challenges include the increase in the number of fire engines and the establishment of additional fire stations, and also to increase the number of our firefighters so that our operations can be more effective. These initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, will ultimately increase the response capabilities of the Jamaica Fire Brigade in Clarendon and specifically the Rocky Point area to serve the public in saving lives and protecting properties. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Assistant Commissioner. At this time, I invite Mr. Edward Muir. He's the Regional Operations Manager for the Southern Parks and Markets to make his presentation. Once again, please. Markets to make his presentation. Once again, please.
Good afternoon, Minister, members at the head table. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the other government agency. My name is Edward Muir. I'm the Regional Operations Manager of the National Solid Waste Management Authority. At NSWMA Regional Body SPM, we have 2 disposal sites in the region. One at Manchester at Martins Hill. That one is responsible for garbage from Manchester and Clarendon. That is where we dispose our garbage at. And for the parish of St. Elizabeth, we dispose our garbage at Myersville. Now, our role in the disaster preparedness management. We are identified as one of the first responders in the event of a natural disaster, in particular hurricanes and earthquakes. We are focused on supporting national relief of debris management to mitigate potential threat to life and safety of citizens. Our primary partners during disaster are ODPEM, National Works Agency, and the Municipal Corporation. Our approach before a disaster, we are responsible to ensure that we remove as much backlog on the road as possible and bulk waste, do as much desilting as possible so that when it rains, it helps to avoid some of the blockage as it relates to drains in some of the town centers and community. Now, during a hurricane, we encourage citizens to try and desist from putting out their garbage on the road as much as possible or at their gates, because what it does, it allows when the rain falls, it moves the garbage and block the drains and create more disaster. But during the hurricane season, we have our teams strategically placed in each parish so that we make note of where the challenges are during the hurricane so that after a hurricane, we ensure that we move as quickly as possible to remove some of the backlog where necessary. Now, during, no, after the disaster, our focus is to ensure that we liaison with the parish council, NWA, to find out where our services are most needed, so that we give a helping hand to ensure that these debris are moved as quickly as possible. What we encourage our citizens to do, during a disaster such as hurricane, the normal operations of our collection and disposal systems will be affected. We are encouraging our citizens to be proactive in the management of their waste. Before a disaster, assess your environment and make an effort to contain any loose garbage. Once garbage collected, secure and store your waste containers properly, preferably away from areas of highways. Now, we are putting in a system in place for the pre-hurricane and post. Put a system in place where we are engaging additional tipper units to move around communities to see how best we can remove all bulky waste to ensure that we have less unforeseen circles. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muir. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Richard McCarge. He's the Major Projects Director for the National Works Agency. He's going to make his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard McCarge, Director, Major Projects. I say greetings to the members of the head table and all other protocols observed. I'm here to give a brief presentation on the role of the National Works Agency in disaster management. And so our mission at the NWA is to build, plan, maintain a reliable, safe, and efficient main road network and flood control system, which will seek to protect life and property, support the movement of people, goods, and services, reduce the cost of transport, promote economic growth and quality of life, and protect the environment. The scope of our mission includes the following. A, the island's main roads and bridge network generally, but in the event of natural disasters, we partner with the local authorities to ensure that all roads, whether main or parochial, are cleared to at least single lane at the earliest possible time. We also seek to ensure that our flood control and sea defense systems, inclusive of gullies and drains, are attended to, along with all buildings, premises, and equipment operated and owned by the NWA. We also provide support to other government departments and agencies, inclusive of the OTPEM, the local authorities, the Jamaica Defense Force, Cavalry Force. By way of our disaster preparedness and emergency plan, we have one that is consistent with our mission, and the plan covers all the steps, procedures, and mechanisms that we seek to activate in relation to our responsibilities under disaster management. And so the NAA is involved in all the steps of the disaster management cycle, which includes prevention, mitigation, preparation, emergency response, rehabilitation, actively involved even as we speak in many of these areas. By way of vulnerabilities to the road network, these are mainly associated with flooding, breakaways, landslides, major siltation, and damage to bridges or their supports. Some of the challenges we face from a strategic level includes the poor waste management practices of citizens, resulting in blocked drains, as well limited drainage capacity. Many of our drains are now based on development, not suitable in terms of capacity, so we're seeking to improve on those. And we're also faced with the challenge of climate change with the accompanying sea level rise. And so to assist in the planning and response to the effect of natural hazards, the NAA has developed maps highlighting areas island-wide that are most prone to floods, storm surges, landslides, and sea level rise. And you may be aware that Clarendon features as being in the top 2 areas in terms of vulnerability to sea level rise in South Clarendon, as well as landslides in North Clarendon. So as was indicated earlier, Clarendon is very vulnerable to the impact of natural hazards. At the NAA, at the commencement of the 2022 hurricane season, we embarked on a series of activities in order to ensure that we are at an acceptable state of readiness. And so begin the recruitment and orientation of staff at NAA to serve in our own emergency operating center, which is activated in the event of a pending natural disaster. We also reviewed our disaster preparedness We have a listing as well of NAA equipment and operators by region. So we are, as it relates to the NAA, many of you may be familiar with our parish manager and regional manager, and so we have contact information for all our regional managers, parish managers, and assistant parish managers. Let me share briefly the mitigation and drain cleaning programs that we have for the island, and I'll give some specifics in relation to Clarendon. And so we would have embarked on our disaster mitigation program prior to the start of the hurricane season. And this includes river training work, station program, and a drain cleaning program. So under the drain cleaning program, we have also things that are not as critical as those that we include in the mitigation program. And so the program not only targeted critical drains along the main road and so to this end, we have a budget of $537 million. That on cleaning program, which, as I said, is separate from the mitigation program. And so amongst the areas in Clarendon to receive attention in either the mitigation program or the drain cleaning program, drain, to Chesterfield, Lindsay, Portland Cottage, drain, Mitchelltown drain, Sedge Pond drain, Lioneltown drain, and Top Hill drain, just to name a few. There are many more that I'm sure your respective members of parliament would be bringing to your attention. I have a full report here, which I can share with others later. In the event of an imminent severe weather threat, the NAA will take the following decisions. We will set up our own emergency operating center. We will seek to equipment and emergency supplies to all our technical officers in all the parishes. We will seek to mobilize our own heavy equipment, though limited, and strategically place or pre-position these. We will activate all our parish EOCs for response activity. Now, I'm sure that you will hear more about this, primarily from ODPEM, but the NAA is presently partnering with ODPEM in implementing what they call the Flood Alert Systems Improvement Project. In Clarendon, that will be in 2 locations, to include the Alley Bridge and Anon Town. The purpose of the project is to improve flood alert system in an effort to protect life and property. And so the project outputs are as follows. 1, the installation and replacement of flood warning signs at both locations mentioned just now. 2, installation and repair of a flood gauge at both locations. The Alley Bridge will be outfitted with a real-time monitoring system so that we can be warned ahead of time as to imminent danger. And finally, the installation of a flood traffic control gate at the alley bridge. You may be familiar with the one that is in the gorge, right? The gate is closed whenever there is a threat of the river rising to a dangerous level. So we will seek, working along with ODPEM, to have a similar control gate established at the alley bridge. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge Councillors Reynolds, McDonald, and Benjamin. Give them a round of applause. They've joined us. And so it brings me to the next presenter, and it's one of our own. So I'm going to ask permission. I'm going to ask permission from the table to get into the vernacular. Please allow me. Camille Beckford Palmer. I know Mayor had mentioned her to you because she's your own regional coordinator from the ODPEM. So at the ODPEM, we do real serious work, and those who do, we take it seriously. So she's one of our own, and I want for you to give her a real way here. Yeah. And I'm saying loud and clear and proud, take all the time you need. We know you have important information to give, so thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to greet Minister Mackenzie, Mayor, all the members of the various agencies, Rocky Point community, and surrounding community. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so I brought some lovely pictures this afternoon, so some of you would have been able to see yourselves, but unfortunately that isn't going to work out today. But we're fine. We know what we have been doing, so we're good. So as persons would have mentioned earlier, Clarendon is one of the most vulnerable parishes in Jamaica. And I think I'm the third person to have said it now. But those persons who live here, you are well aware that that is not some academic thing, that it is real true, right? So we know that this parish, you have a large population, and added to your large population, your physical vulnerability. So we are aware that we have the hilly terrain, which is in which section of the parish? The northern section, right, everyone? And in the southern section, which we are now, you know, we're on flats land, and we are susceptible to things like what? Storm surges, floodings, etc. So this parish, like with many other parishes in Jamaica and all of Jamaica, we're nowhere vulnerable to hurricanes. And it was Mayor earlier reminded us that, you know, you were impacted terribly by Hurricane Ivan some time ago, and also Hurricane Dean. We know we're vulnerable to earthquakes here. We also know that flooding is a factor. And in this parish, we do not need a hurricane to be flooded. Not true. All we need is about a day, 4 hours of continuous rainfall, and the Rio Mina wakes up, and we have a lot of problem here. And we would have noticed that would have been happening over the years. We also have drought in Clarendon, right? Most of us would have experienced that. And of course, landslides. You know, most of your landslides are predominantly in your northern section of the parish, where you have the hilly terrain. And there are also man-made hazards. In this day and age, you know, there's civil unrest. We're all vulnerable to fires. We had a major fire. And also, you are also vulnerable to chemical spills because you have industries here. So we can see that there's a lot for us to be concerned about. But over the years, we have been doing some work. We have been doing our public education campaign. And I know earlier this year, a group of us from the ODPEM, the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Rocky Point earlier this year, where we did some sensitization on earthquake, and we also did an evacuation transit walk from down Rocky Point up to the community center. Mr. Gale was one of those persons who was there with us. I see a gentleman there, I can't make out his face in the vest, but he probably was one of the that was there with us that day. And we were in the event of any need that you may need to evacuate. Where would you need to come? Where's your first point of contact or your first location to come? Right here, right? Your first location. So these are some of the activities that we have been doing in the parish and specifically in Rocky Point. We also have community volunteers. And as I said, in the parish of Clarendon, it's not a one-man show. All the agencies work together. The ODPEM works closely on a daily basis with the parish disaster coordinator from the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, the SDC, MLSS, the fire brigade. I hope I'm not leaving out anybody. But most of us as agencies, we work together on a daily basis. And we are able to have a good group of community volunteers right across the parish. Some of them were trained initially by the Red Cross. Some of them were trained initially through ODPEM and the municipal corporation projects. Others were trained by other projects. Some are a part of the STC core community volunteers we work with on a daily basis. And we do have a group in Rocky Point. I don't know, Mr. Gill was here earlier and some of the other members. We have a group in Mitchelltown. We have a group in Town. We have a group in Osborne Store, Thompson Town, Mount Eric, Kellett. We have a group in Portland Cottage, right? Where we have persons like Miss Inez and other persons where if there is something, there's a first point of contact. So we're encouraging everybody, get a part, become a part of the established community groups where you'll be able to know what to do in an event of an emergency. The ODPEM and the Municipal Corporation, along with other partners, have been also resourcing community groups. So some of our community groups have been outfitted with supplies, right? Supplies such as water boots, stretchers, first aid kits. Some can use as a community to help themselves in an emergency. And we did 2 such major ones up in Mount Airy and Crooked River under a special project that was funded by the Parish Development Committee recently. And also some of the other groups with the parish, the volunteers would have been outfitted with that they can use to identify themselves among the community groups. So those are some of the things we have been doing. As I mentioned before, drills and simulation exercises are commonplace in this parish, very commonplace in this parish. Recently, we were at Mitchelltown, the parish disaster committee coordinator and a group of us agencies, and it was the community group that came there and assisted us in monitoring and evaluating the drill because they knew what to do, and that was very good. Waiting in their vests, and they just did what they were supposed to do. So that is commendable, right? We have been, so you notice I say we because this is not a one-person show. Signage is something that we're big on putting up, and something, while we have been doing work for flooding, earthquake, and landslides over the years, recently, the ODPEM and the Municipal Corporation did some work for tsunami, where in Farker Beach, tsunami signs, we have the evacuation route. We cleared the way to go up to the hill for the evacuation route. We have students that went up there, as a drill activity. So all of these things are activities that we're doing. At the community level, we want to ensure that everybody is involved. And when you see the agencies come around to do these activities, Don't just stand by the wayside, participate because they're meaningful activities. Also been doing deployment of resources across the parish. So we don't only have items concentrated in the south with the municipal corporation, we have also deployed items in the northern section of the parish, which you know it's pretty harder to get to in the event of a hurricane because of the terrain and landslides. So we have containers that section of the parish, they can't get any items because the roads are blocked. Our shelter management program continues. We retrofitted some shelters. We have retrofitted the last couple of years. We have placed ramps there for the disabled communities. We have retrofitted Frankfield, Stacyville, Crooked River. Some of these communities got water tanks. Some of them, we have an issue in Jamaica with the schools. So we're able to give them plyboards so that they can have coverage in some of the areas. So sometimes it's not some big activities we're doing, but we try to find within our budget some even small things that we can assist the community with as times go by. Now, the representative from NAA mentioned a very important project that is now underway. We're doing all the precursory work for it, such as procurement and the documentation, etc. But we realize that flooding is a major issue in this parish, and we want to ramp up the public education with flooding with signage, which will be put in for the first step for Ali and Anian Town, and also reinstallation of flood gauges. There are a lot of flood gauges that once were all across this parish. And we want to ensure that we replace those that have been damaged so that persons can know. Some communities, Anian Town recently, a gentleman told me that when the flood gauge was there, once it got to a certain measurement, he knew it was time for him to pack up, because he knows that once the river gets there, there's no turning back. So these are some of the small activities that we like to do to ensure that the community members, for your own sake, that there's a level of preparedness and an alert mechanism for you. You don't need to wait until somebody tells you what to do, because you know that once we get to a particular stage, what are the next steps for you to carry out. The traffic monitoring gate was mentioned, and we will meet with the community of Racecourse and Alley and all of those surrounding communities to discuss that at a convenient time. We're doing the precursory work right now. So I don't want the community to think that something will just be trusted on them. We are going through the stages, and we will ensure that we have a wholesome discussion with you at a convenient time to get the operational issues for that worked out. Data is body, and an assessment which we will utilize for a National Disaster Vulnerability Ranking Index. So just as how we were able to tell you based on data that Clarendon is one of the parishes that is most vulnerable, We already know that Rocky Point and Portland Cottage would be one of those communities, but sometimes we need the data, because sometimes data lead to funding and other trained persons who went out and did assessments, and we already have data for over 400 households in this Mitchelltown and Portland Cottage. Now, I've said a lot about what we have been doing, but I know there's always some of us, and we take all of these things for granted because it's now a norm in Jamaica. Yes, it's going to rain, and we have become so to ensure our safety and our well-being. There are certain preparedness, something like this we are doing now. There are mitigation tasks that you must do, such as ensuring that you ensure that your housing and your infrastructure is up to standard and the drain cleaning and all of those things that were mentioned before. And there are things that we must do when we are alerted or alarmed, and there are things that we must do after. So it is very important for everybody to have a plan. We cannot just go about our daily life saying, oh yes, this is going to happen again and it's not going to affect me. We must need to do, you know, in academic we call it risk analysis and looking at hazard and vulnerability assessments. For us, we need to just know our environment and know what is around us. Know where you live, what's to happen to you. Huh? Why people down there not talking to me like somebody is the first to see me? Flooding. You live here, it is going to flood. Not true. If hurricane come, you're going to get a storm surge. If you get a tsunami, the waves going to come over here on you. That is just facts. This is where you live. So we implore you to know your environment, know your specific location, know which houses in the community have a second floor, neighbor that have a second or a third floor. I'm following everybody? These are simple things we need to know. Know if you can manage to walk. These are some of the things we need to know, right? We also encourage everybody to know your alternate safe location. We have shelters here, but you know the particular issue with your entire community that it is low line. And even though this may be the designated shelter for you, and I think South Savannah, right? Anything can happen. And family that you can stay with first choice, and your last resort should be your shelter, right? Ensure you have the emergency contact numbers. And your emergency contact numbers, your first point of reference out of the community would be the municipal corporation. And if you don't have the numbers for the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, they were out there all day with their information. It is 986-2234. Know the numbers for your municipal corporation. I have all of them, sir. Mayor telling me it's 3 numbers, right? So I just gave it a general number. I can also give you the number for the Parish Emergency Operations Center. Did you know that during a hurricane, government agencies were not home in our beds? It's the Operations Center. So if there's something happening in the middle of the night and we are able to communicate, assistance will come to you. So during any hurricane or any other major event, we have emergency operations centers set up at the parish level, at the national level at ODPEM, and even many of our agencies have EOC set up. So the municipal corporation EOC number is 98629, the coordinator. And of course, we tell you that you need to contact persons in parish first. However, if anything and you can't get them, which won't happen in Clarendon, all our agencies are on top of the game here, fire department, everybody. You can call the ODPEM at 906-9674. Now, this one is a tricky one. We tell persons that they need to have emergency supplies in this very hard time, right? But it is something that you must do. Because if times are hard pre-disaster, what I think can help encourage everybody to have your emergency supplies. This is simple information that you hear year in, year out, but we are reminding you, have your emergency food supplies, your emergency supplies to take care of your house, your medication, all your little things. You need to ensure that you have them and you keep them safe and they're ready to move. And we encourage you to know your evacuation routes. And finally, everybody, make sure that after an event, you try to build back better. Try to ensure that the same way the storm hit you this year, that next year it doesn't hit the exact way. I know times are hard, but we need to try. Development is something that we have to ensure that each time we get better in life. Try to ensure that when you're recovering, so if all your roof is zinc, try to make one room slab. Not true? One room. I said try, right? Because we don't want the roof. And if you can't go to slab roof, we encourage you to do what? Put on some hurricane straps and things like those. Behind your house, make sure their house is better than yours that is in front. So if anything, the family has somewhere to go. All right, everyone. So this take place in this parish between the agencies. You have a very hard-working parish disaster coordinator from the municipal corporation. You have a very good team of agencies within this parish. Make sure as a community you take part in the activities when they come. And before I leave, just eyes on me, my time is up. Right? Recently we were in Rocky Point and the community, they were so receptive. We were at some bars early morning, because you know your fishermen come in and they sit down. And we were able to interact with them early in the morning. All these fishermen coming in and they sit and they just listened and they understood and they took part in the drill. When they heard the alarm, they came out of the bar and everything and they participated, and that is commendable. And I'm very happy to clap for that, for participating. The Community Disaster Risk Management Group that walked from down Rocky Point, and they reached a far way. We went into the pickup after a while and came up, but we got the essence of what we were doing. After a while and came up, but we got the essence of what we were doing. That was very good. So again, Rocky Point and you try to ensure that you do the things to keep you safe in the event of a hazard. Okay?
I feel like just coming here and chant, "Go Camille, go Camille." I think she did an excellent job. So we have a lot of stars at the Odd Pem, you know, and she's one of that. Clarendon benefits as a result of it. So Mayor, take good care of her, okay? Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So here we are now. We have, I wrote it down. I said he's no stranger to us. In fact, I have here that he has become a household name synonymous with rain. Am I right, madam? So that said, Mr. Evan, you come tell us what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I have to acknowledge this evening Minister Mackenzie for going all out to make sure that we have these functions all the time, have these town hall meetings, because knowledge is power, people. When you know what to do. So it is good that we have this opportunity, and I want to thank you, Mayor Mirage, as well, for opening the opportunity, welcoming us to your parish, and of course, to share in a function like this, to help to educate the people about what is happening. Well, I am from the Met Service. Evan Thompson is the name. You hear the name before? Well, okay, I'm here to tell you about the hurricane season. But you see, the hurricane season is not starting today. And so we've gone 1 month into it already, gone a 1 month and a week into the hurricane season for this year. And it is going to continue for another 5 months, 4 months and 3 weeks before we see the end of this. Heads and we get to take. So the hurricane season runs from the 1st of June until the end of November. And during this time, we have not only hurricanes, we have tropical waves move across us. We have tropical depressions that might storms that could develop out of these tropical depressions. And we have what we call major hurricanes. And any of them could move across your area. You have the experience of seeing some of those in this area already. We had Hurricane Ivan as well. Both of them were major hurricanes. And people seem they hit Clarendon in particular and affected the people of Portland Cottage and Rocky Point. And we know that we experienced that kind of activity from hurricanes that were just and so you experienced a hit from those systems. Now a hurricane is a whole lot from those systems. Now a hurricane is a whole lot of wind. We talk about breeze blow when we talk about hurricanes. But it's not just the wind that is of concern. That is how we categorize these systems. But wind. We have a lot of flooding that takes place inland because of the heavy rainfall. Rainfall is usually heavy with these systems, and they move across us that cause the kind of flooding that many of us experience. Have a different kind of flooding that didn't come from inland and from the rainfall, but it came in from the waves. Because when a hurricane is close enough to the coast, you do get push the waves onto the land and then pull back out some of the things that were on the land into the seas. And that is what you experience in this area. Some of the things that were on the land went out to sea some years ago. And we want to make sure that we are prepared for that kind of activity. We do all we can those years pass as we move forward. So we have those hazards to worry about. We heard also about if we're on the inland areas and we're moving up closer to the hills, we have those landslides that will occur. Convenience. You can't get to carry your things where you need to carry them to. You can't get aid coming into your cells, not only to experience them, but to clear them when they when it comes with hurricanes. Because inside of those hurricanes, sometimes you get these thunderstorms. Today we heard about St. Elizabeth having a freak storm. Quite likely, it was a tornado event, or it might have the winds coming down from the thunderstorm cloud, pushing on the land and causing destruction and lifting of roofs and that kind of thing. That can happen in your area. It comes with hailstones sometimes, and the tornadoes do occur within hurricanes. And we've experienced them before, and we will experience them again. Now, the activity you have to going to be hearing. We have a number of messages that we issue from the Meteorological Service, because we are responsible for observing the weather conditions, not only over Jamaica, but over the waters around us. Responsibility to let you know that there is something out there. You must know who you're going to depend on to tell you that. You can't listen to any and anybody, because people will tell you to happen when it is actually moving in your direction. So you have to know who to listen to and when to listen to them. So, flash flood watches. Flash flood watch. That means that the flooding is possible, but the flooding has already started to occur, whether in your area or somewhere very close. That means it is going to impact you shortly. So when we issue a flash flood watch, flooding conditions are going to affect a particular area, and we will tell you what area. Sometimes we tell you southern Clarendon, and you are not in the north, but you must know where you live, know your environment, as Camille was telling you about. So that is one, those are two of the messages that we issue that relate to flash flood watches and warnings. But then there are the storm watches and the storm warnings. It's a little bit different, because what we mean is that conditions that are associated with a tropical storm are possible in your area within 2 days. In 2 days, you could get storm activity in your area. And by storm activity, the thunderstorms, or it could mean the strong winds that are associated. Of course, if we say hurricane watch, it means therefore that hurricane conditions are what are likely to occur in your area still within 2 days. So we know normally give a full or a hurricane. We change those watches to warnings. It means that not only is the condition a possibility, but it is. So it means it is expected, and you don't have as much as 2 days anymore, which means start to look and prepare yourself. And the warning, which means it there, start move from where you were. All right? And you know that the conditions are so bad, they are expected in your area, and you only have less to do whatever you need to do to ensure you save your life, you save your property, and you save your livelihoods. There is another message that we issue from time to time. This one has to do with evacuation, but we don't go into the evacuation area. What we do is we evacuate the seas before we issue a watch. So if we believe that we might have to issue a watch, tropical, far out at sea, if you are a fisherman that works out at sea, or if you know fishermen who work at sea, you need to leave the seas and come back to the land. And you must get to the land before we issue the watch. That is, and we call the Coast Guard and we say, Coast Guard, you're going to have to help us to convey that message to all the people in the gone without the cell phone, and they don't know how to reach, they don't get the information. So the Coast Guard is activated to go out and make sure that we can find people out there and let them know what is happening out there. In the seas, evacuating the quays and the banks out there, and coming to the land, making sure that you're best. Then you start to look about your houses, because you're still under the warning. Everything must be ready so that you can bunker down and prepare yourself to deal with any eventuality. So those are some of the messages you need to know about. When you hear us talk about issuing a bulletin is much more than just a news release. It's more than just a warning message. It is one that says there is a threat. So if you hear bulletin number 2 from the minute to us in Jamaica, and that is why we issue a bulletin. So we move the message and call it a bulletin before we issue what is the watch or the warning. So you will hear that in the releases on the radio. So you must know the messages, but you must know also where to get your information. Call the Met Office if you need to. 924-804055. 876-924-8055. You get straight to the Met Office all the way at the airport in Kingston. But they are always on duty 24 hours a day to answer your calls if you need information. If all you want to know is what is the latest warning message that was issued, all you have to dial is 116. 116 will give you the latest warning message that was recorded from the Met Office. So you will hear if there was a watch in effect, or you'll hear if there was a hurricane warning or a flash flood warning or whatever warning is in effect, that will be on 116. So you need to know that. Also know the Met Office has a website, metservice.gov.jm. metservice.gov.jm. Go to that and find the latest message as well. It gives you additional information so you know what is happening out there. And of course, we are always in contact with the ODPEM. So the ODPEM even gets our message before you get it. And they are prepared to pass that message to you if you have contact with the ODPEM. So make sure that you have in your diaries, in whatever book or phone log that you have at home, the numbers for the Met Service and the numbers for ODPEM, because these are people you need to know. And you need to know how to get the information that you need so that you can take the action that you need to take. I think that's enough information for me to give you today. So thank you very much for listening, and make sure that you keep yourself safe during this hurricane season. We expect an active hurricane season.
Thank you, Evan Thompson. Just to add that we value you and we appreciate. All right, so at this time, we're going to take a break from our agenda, meaning that we're now going to have an item, a performance item. This performance item, the spray, not by the minister yet, but it is by Nathaniel Donalds. He's a JCDC Gold Medal winner, and he's going to be doing a poem. It's entitled Madman for the Garbage. So here we go.
Madman for the Garbage by Carlita Bell. Them say me a fool. Watch the woman a dump the garbage straight in the gully. Why she couldn't wait on the garbage truck, or she could have even dig a hole in her backyard and bury it. Me say, these people make me can't breathe. Breathe. No, Mrs. Wipe, we want the big business place up a new roof. Him take out all the old car parts them and left them at the roadside, and him no feel no way about it. This is how we treat our country. Look out! The school bus a come. The pitney them a throw the garbage through the window and a mess up the street. So you know say them fling a bag juice bag right in our old lady face. Even the pitney them no care. Oh, them dispose them waste. This nastiness fi stop. People must know. Oh, them dispose them waste. Me on the road, morning, noon, and night, just to keep it clean. You know, I fi go a university, to get a degree, to know how to keep your country clean. Stop polluting the environment. It affect us. Them for the garbage. Make my country clean and beautiful.
Thank you very much, Nathaniel Donalds, and he's 9 years old. He's a JCDC gold medal winner. His mommy is Carlita Bell, and she's the author of the poem. Carlita, just put your hand up now. Put your hand up. Put your hand up, Carlita. She went over. She went inside. Right. Give them a round of applause again. Us in Disaster Management and the National Solid Waste Management Authority, we're always saying, look, if you can dispose of your garbage properly, then we can sometimes avert the flooding. So that's something to consider. Sylphie, 0248JG, blocking the entrance. So if your license plate is 0248JG, you're blocking the entrance, please remove the vehicle. Thank you so much. So I guess we are at the moment we have been waiting for all evening. Is that where we are on the agenda? Yes? Agree with me now? All right, so I think we're up at, all right, so my apology, we have quickly into the gentleman that needs no introduction. I could just walk off now and you know who he is. But he's our minister, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, and he's going to make the main address. So make him welcome.
Thank you, Delmaris, for the introduction. Residents of Rocky Point and the adjoining communities, His Worship, the Mayor, councillors from the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, Mr. Richard Thompson, Acting Director General of ADPEM, Evan, my good friend, the representatives from the various government agencies who made presentations earlier on, those who are listening to this program by means of radio, nationwide and Power 106, and those who are watching on PBS, the ministry's page, and on Nationwide News Network. The last item before I was introduced is a fitting way for me to start my presentation in this, the first in a series of 14 such meetings that we'll be putting on across the country to sensitize Jamaicans about the need to be conscious, to be ready in case of an emergency. The young 9-year-old has echoed the sentiments of many Jamaicans who continue to be concerned about the state of garbage collection across sections of the island. We are on record in saying that the government acknowledge and accept that there is a problem as it relates to garbage collections. It cannot be said too often, and I want to repeat it tonight. Prior to COVID, an announcement was made to provide 100 new garbage trucks to the National Solid Waste Management Authority. Once those announcements were made, the process started. It was in this same parish, in this same constituency, we learned of a thing called COVID-19. In this same parish, I met a young lady who reminded me that we bump into each other when I had a shoulder problem. So it was in this same constituency, Southeast, we had the COVID announcement in some way. The 100 trucks, when the government had to respond to COVID, because COVID was something new to the world. There was no playbook on any shelf that you could take down and say, this is how you respond to COVID. And like many other things, the purchase of the 100 trucks, the funding for that was used to strengthen the response of the Ministry of Health. Because of that, we have experienced severe shortage of trucks. And for those who will criticize the government, as the minister with responsibility, I accept those criticisms. I cannot deny the concerns. But I want to make another point which is important. Between 2016 and 2019, we brought 63 new trucks in Jamaica between 2016 to 2019. When we assumed office in 2016, the National Solid Waste Management Authority, island-wide, 63 new trucks in Jamaica between 2016 to 2019. When we assumed office in 2016, well, it is good that we repeat it in whatever form. But I want to make the point that in 2016, the National Solid Waste never had 6 proper working trucks in its fleet across Jamaica. We are now in the process of getting 50 of those new trucks. But I want to say to the country, the Minister of Finance has announced a program which we will undertake. I want to urge Jamaicans to be considerate about their neighbors. Some people saying that I am blaming the people for the state of garbage collection. I've not done anything like that. What I've said is that while it is the responsibility of government, the citizens have a responsibility to play in ensuring that our garbage is disposed of in the correct fashion. And our young 9-year-old has reminded us about our responsibility to act accordingly in that way. This evening, as I said, it's the first of 14 such town hall meetings. Minister Matthew Samuda, who has responsibility for the environment, should have been here with us this evening, but because of other commitments which he could not wrap up in time to get here, we are taking a different approach this season to how we get the message across to Jamaicans. You heard from the NWA speaking about their comprehensive mitigation program, drain cleaning, and doing all the things that are necessary to keep the country safe. You heard from the Jamaica Fire Brigade, and they mentioned the concerns of not being able to respond to disasters in this section of Clarendon. I was reminded about the unfortunate death of the 2 toddlers because of fire. We are mindful of it, and I've engaged the Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade to see where and how we can put in a response system in this section of Clarendon that will meet the needs of the residents that lives on the plain here in Clarendon. It's not going to be difficult for us to do, because this is a government that when it speaks, it takes steps to back up what we say. And if I say to you tonight that I've listened to the concerns of Mayor Maraj almost on a daily basis, and since I came here earlier on today, somebody confronted me about the state that there is nothing to respond to fire in this area. We will commence the process, and when we have more details, I will be making further announcement. But I'm committing tonight that we will move to address this situation in South Clarendon. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, ODPEM, is the government's premier organization as it relates to disaster preparedness and how we respond. Earlier today, a good friend of mine from this community engaged me in a conversation. And the question that she asked of me, what are we doing for the homeless population during the hurricane season, if and when there is a need? My response to her, and this is my response to the country, that we have done a survey in every parish across Jamaica. We have identified the homeless communities. And once there is the indication, as Evan said, once we are made aware of a pending situation, the municipal corporation working with ODPEM and the Jamaica Fire Brigade, we will move across the areas that we have identified where we know that the homeless population lives. and we will move them and take them to the various shelters within the parish of Clarendon. There are 94 shelters in the parish of Clarendon. 94. Spread right across the parish. And all 94 shelters are fully equipped with what is needed for the shelters to operate. There is no shortage of resources to equip these shelters. There are personnel that is ready, and you heard from the coordinator that there have been a number of drills and interactions taking place across the parish. Because Clarendon, as was said before, is one of those parishes that poses severe challenges during a disaster. And I don't want us to concentrate disaster only on hurricane. There are other disasters that the parish face. But I want to give the people of Rocky Point and the people of Clarendon the assurance that we are in a state of readiness. Clarendon is ranked in the top 3 parishes in Jamaica that is above the average, way up in a state of readiness in case you are called upon. And that is because of the hard work of the team here in Clarendon. The municipal corporation will commence another phase of its drain cleaning exercise shortly. We're going to be making available the funds to the municipality. The government will be spending on mitigation exercise and drain cleaning across the country. For the municipal corporations, we are going to be providing $140 million to shore up our state of readiness for the hurricane season. And I have already met with the mayors and I've said to the mayors that there can be no excuse. We are providing the resources, and I'm expecting that we will see the results of the resources that we are providing for the municipalities right across the country. The ODPEM has taken the necessary steps in ensuring that relief supplies are in place. About a month ago, when the Most Honorable Prime Minister launched the meeting of the National Disaster Council, he spoke about the need for Jamaicans to listen and to take warning. The shelters are not 5-star hotels. So if you are asked to evacuate to a shelter, it is just a holding area until the worst have passed. I have had occasions when I was mayor of Kingston to go to a community to beg them to leave, that the eye of the hurricane catch me on the Palisades Road. I went to the member of parliament back to the same community with buses to evacuate the residents, and they refused. We had to leave them. While there are provisions in the Disaster Risk Act that allows us to ask persons to leave, and we can use those measures, we don't want to go to the extent where we are forcing anybody to leave. We are saying to communities like Rocky Point, Portland Cottage, and other areas of Clarendon, which is badly affected by flooding, whenever we have a system. Jamaica is one of the best countries in the world in terms of giving advance information on hurricane, because we have the man who is considered one of the best in the world, Evan Thompson, at the end of that. So we are not short on information. It is not lack of information that has affected us whenever there are issues. Persons say, me born, come sit and it now come and whatever. But I'm saying we cannot put the lives of the persons who have to respond to these calls. So we can't ask the firefighters, we can't ask ADPEM, we can't ask the police and the soldiers to be out there in the middle of an hurricane when we made all the necessary arrangements for persons to evacuate. We have made a commitment, and the Prime Minister gave me those instructions in 2016. Once we know that the shelters are going to be used, we have made provisions so that when people come, you don't have to sit down and wait for 8, 12 hours to get something to eat. We are proactive in our shelters, and I would urge persons, once the call is given, move to safety, because it is in your best interest to do so. So, this series of meetings that we are having is important, because not only are we talking to you, but during the days we bring in the various agencies. Earlier on today, the Electoral Office of Jamaica was here. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security was here. We had a number of agencies coming and offering service to the community, sitting with you, talking with you about the importance of securing, to make sure that you are on top of things. The Social Development Commission, and I want to commend them for the work that they are doing on the ground in helping to mobilize and to sensitize the communities. Give them a big hand. They have been working. And I want to again say something which somebody saw me somewhere on Monday and made a comment to me, and I found it strange. What we are doing as a government The government of Prime Minister Andrew Holness in executing government policies. We don't use political colors. We don't think about PNP or GLP because in a time of disaster, disaster knows no politics. And whatever we are doing for communities. We are doing it for Jamaicans. And I want to give the assurance that invitation was extended to everybody in Clarendon. We never single out any special set of persons for any preferential treatment because this government do operate like that. The needs of the community is what is important in executing the program. And while we continue the work, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is a critical partner with us during the season. The churches, the community-based organizations are all critical players in this time of the year. And I want to encourage you to become active in the various programs that are in your communities. Don't believe that the work of the ADPEM and the municipal cooperation is not there to benefit you. I want to pause and to welcome the Member of Parliament who had a previous appointment in Kingston. Welcome, MP. For the ADPEM and all the stakeholders, it is your interests that matters most, and we will do everything in our powers to ensure that our shelters are up and running, that persons are getting the kind of information that is required. Last thing I want to touch on before I take my seat is the question of streetlights. There are concerns in this section of Clarendon about streetlights. It's a matter that I've raised with the Jamaica Public Service Company. And while I understand the issues that they are experiencing in sourcing materials to execute their jobs, I am convinced that they can do better than they are doing. I'm very concerned about the lack of response. And I intend to engage JPS as I've been doing over the last couple of years, and even more so, for them to understand that the needs of the consumers must be addressed, and addressed in a manner which is not going to put their lives at danger. Question of water has also been raised, and rural water is present here tonight. And rural water have done some work in this section of the constituency. And quite recently, there are at least 2 schemes that was done by Rural Water. We know that water is an issue. And we have been working with the Member of Parliament, with the Mayor, and other stakeholders to ensure that we provide this basic and very, very critical commodity to the various communities. We'll be able to assist with the trucking of water. And in our discussion earlier on with the head of Rural Water, we are looking at a program that we can put in using rural water to help to address the shortage of water in this section of Clarendon. But tonight I want to beg of you, I want to commend you on your turnout, because when I came here earlier today, the courtyard was filled. Give yourselves a big and rocky point. You have done well. But I want to remind you to remember the words of Evan Thompson, to remember the words of the parish coordinator. Listen, know your circumstances, and respond in a positive way. Let me thank you for coming. I know the Member of Parliament have just arrived, and I'm going to move now so that at least you will have an opportunity to say a few words, and then we will get into the question and answers coming from you. God bless you and thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Minister Mackenzie. So at this time then, let us make our minister feel welcome, the Honorable Pernell Charles Jr., who has joined us. Give him a round of applause. He's the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Member of Parliament for Southeastern Clarendon. So we'll take his remarks. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Let us, of course, firstly welcome Minister Mackenzie and the team and all of our distinguished colleagues at the head table here, including the Mayor, Councillor for this division, all of the councillors, everyone. Let me not take up any much more time. It's late. You don't want to hear a 10-minute speech from another person. So I'm going to simply say thank you for bringing again the attention to this very critical need for us to prepare. It is better for us sometime to live and stay alive than to stay and lose our life. And it is always better to prepare yourself for anything that is coming, particularly a storm. And so I want to say thanks to all of the agencies, all of the ministries, and all of the members of government that are working together, collaborating to ensure that we are in ready mode for whatever is coming. I can say to you, Minister Mackenzie, the residents of Rocky Point and the surrounding areas have for years undergone, I think, the sufferation of several floods and hurricanes. And I think it's time for us to say that we won't make it worse by not following the instructions of those who are equipped to protect us. Certainly, as the councillor, Ms. Pauline Reynolds, would say, we together as a community, collectively, are going to do whatever we can to make sure that we protect life over anything else. Protect life over anything else. As Member of Parliament, I'm hoping that in the next months and years to come, we will look on Rocky Point and be able to see it as a shining example of resilience. And so I will be batting for the funding that is necessary for us to fix the roads and to fix the drains, which is what we need to protect the community and to make sure that the buildings and the infrastructure in this area close to the coastline is resilient and fitting for all of the weather conditions that we know are coming. The southern part of Clarendon, particularly us here, we get everything coming down from the north. And I think it is for that reason that we are deserving of the attention that we're getting today from the minister and from the ministry. And as I close, I just want to ask that we give them all a round of applause for the good work that they're doing. I know that others could not have been here early, as I couldn't. And on behalf of them, I just want to make just an apology because they were clashing in terms of the events. Nevertheless, this is an important event. And so thank you to all who are making the effort. We will commit ourselves to doing all we can to follow the instructions and to live up to the protocol and standards. Thank you very much.
Microphone. Thank you very much, Minister Charles. Thank you for coming. Just to note that this segment of the session today is very important. We are at the question and answer segment. And so this format, a town hall meeting format, is usually used by state entities, government officials to give individuals in the community, society, parish, an opportunity to speak to them, pose your questions, and then get some answers to what it is you consider to be the need for your area. So today, the ODPEM is pleased to have been able to attract two ministers, Minister the Honorable Desmond McKenzie and Minister Charles. We also have your mayor here too. And so at this time, with the permission of Minister McKenzie, we'd like to now open the floor and to say that there are microphones in the aisle that you can just go to and you can pose your questions. We ask that you say your name and where you're from in Clarendon and then pose your questions. We're also mindful of the time, Honorable Minister, and so we're going to ask that you be succinct and you ask the questions, and then we will see how we'll treat with the follow-up. So the mics are open and we'll take your questions now. And mind you, you don't all have to speak at once. Only because I see no one there. But it's a testament. Okay, we have a gentleman coming.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ricardo Brown. I currently live at Longville Park housing scheme, but I grew up on the banks of Ryman at Water Lane. My question to the person from NWA, in terms of resurfacing the road from Alley leading to Race Course, or soon that'll be done. And also, I'm just making a suggestion, read the bridge, that you rise it. Because I remember at 11 years old, being the oldest male in the house, closest to the bridge at Alley, I had to check to see where the level of the water was. So we know that if it reached to the pump that leads to Longwood, then it was time for us to leave. Thank God, for some reason, 6 of the 686, the water didn't get into our house, but we actually moved from the day before to a higher location. So in terms of the road surfacing, it's really bad. How soon? And one more point I just want to make. I know we love Rocky Point, we love where we live, and I will exchange Water Lane for Longville Park any day. But the reality is we have to look at rezoning and relocation because climate change is happening. We can't escape it. The sea level is rising. And so as much as we love Rocky and all of that. We can still all do the industry and the business just the same. But we really have to think about going to higher grounds because we're not only going to just experience the flooding like the 6 of the 686. We're going to face tsunamis and other things that we have never seen before. So we need to rezone, remove, or relocate. And likewise for Upper Clarendon too, where the shale is can be very unstable. I remember as a student at the College of Agriculture, I went to Upper Rio Grande Valley, and I was saying, those people don't know about flooding. And I made this statement 2-3 weeks after the major flood came. So we really have to think about rezoning.
Thank you for your question. NWA?
Good evening again. I made a note of your query, the road improvement to alley to race course. I don't have the information you require at this point, but I'm committing to getting that information to you and others by tomorrow. So if you could share your contact with me, I will communicate with you tomorrow. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your question. Do we have any more questions?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have a concern on behalf of everybody in South Rocky Point Division. I'm wondering if, in case of an emergency or a fire emergency, could a fire station be placed in Lionel Town to assist persons down in Rocky Point area?
Sorry, you'll take that? 1 minute. Minister will take that.
Well, I did in my presentation mention the concerns about lack of firefighting capabilities and gave a commitment that we will be working to ensure that something is placed in this area to respond. So your concerns will be dealt with.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Norval Gale. I am the chairman for the CDC group for Rocky Point. I have several concerns, and I'm going to just say them, and probably we'll get somewhere later on. One.
Can I offer some guidance, though?
Okay.
If it is that you require an answer to any of them, we're going to ask that you pause and allow for the state entity or members of the government to respond, or you'll go on and we won't be able to address them.
Okay, that's
so
fine.
maybe we'll take the first 2 or 3 and then you'll pause there.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. So my first concern is there's a development at Monimus Glaze that we saw recently. The agencies that are involved and they approve for some major trees, some guango trees that were along that section. Those trees were removed. We are concerned because those trees and persons who are cutting out the forest area between that section and Portland Cottage has done a great deal, a great damage to that green area. There is almost no major tree in that area. Nothing at all. So we are concerned because when the wind, at some point in time, just on a normal day, when the wind bursts the banks of Cockpit Hill and hit the flat at Lionel Town, all of that is coming straight to us over here. And that creates more havoc for us than anything else. No buffer, nothing at all to save us. And we would like to see something done about it.
Right, concern noted.
The second one concerning the drain that runs from Lionel Town. It connects Lionel Town, Portland Cottage, and Rocky Point. We are concerned about it because that drain has been a dirt drain for decades. It has not changed. we understand, we truly understand that if you put in a concrete drain, we are having more surface water now than before. And the concrete drain poses a problem. But it is still the best option because these drains are taking away parts of our road surface. If you look at the turn at the club, just coming in, when the water rise in the drain, it eats away the road surface. And we are continuing to spend millions of dollars on repairs that can be avoided. See if we can address it piece by piece. I don't expect us to wave the magic wand and it is done. But if we can take it phase by phase, we would love to see that.
Okay.
So the final one is that I don't know how possible it is going to be, but one of the problems that we're facing is that the drainage system that goes directly to the Buggy Pond and other areas in the Portland Cottage area there, it runs from Portland Cottage and it has a section that comes to Rocky Point, but it's also divert back and goes up to the mangroves. However, in recent years, there is no waterway per se. It has become a flat area. So the drainage is totally gone completely. So when the water piles up from where we clean the drain at the club corner there and up in Portland Cottage, it goes and it backs up and come back on the community. So we are asking that special attention be given to trace the drain and have it lead out to the sea. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Yes, Pastor Gale. Pastor Gale, the first drain you spoke about, which one is exactly you're talking about? The one parallel to the road? Cottage Road? Beside the road and drops out at Cottage Crossing?
Right.
Yes. Okay, well, we are aware that that one needs cleaning now. That's the one you spoke about concreting?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, you see, we have to understand, that's a big job. It's a very long drain. And concreting a drain doesn't necessarily help the situation. Because some of the times we have to allow for percolation while the water is running. Because we want water to go underground as well. And you have to understand, when you talk about the water backing up, we know that that drain leads into the other one that is a perimeter drain around Rocky Point, drops into that one as well before it goes into the swamp, around that by Buggy Pond we mentioned. All right? Now, you also have to understand that whenever the rain falls heavily, the seawater moves out to takes in the fresh water. So it takes a while for it to mix, especially if it's dirty, it takes a longer while. So that is when the water backs up on the land. So you have to know all of these hydraulics. You see? But yes, I agree with you. The drain needs to be cleaned because a couple of years now that it has been cleaned all the way out. So I agree with you. It's a National Works Agency responsibility, sir.
All right, so thank you. And sir, in terms of the drainage, sir, we are not expecting us, if we are educated as we are concerning disaster and mitigation, we are not expecting the contractor, the government to concrete all of it. We want you to concrete it in a way where water has the ability to sneak through those drainage systems. If that is not given to us, it is rather a death trap.
Yeah. All right.
So I've made a note again of the concern. I'm not familiar with the area, but I'll speak with the parish manager and we'll see what we can do in relation to the concern.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions from the group? Any questions, please? You may go to the microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. The name is Althea Brown. I am an active citizen in my community, Rocky Point. The question I have is to the JPS, that's Jamaica Public Service. The area which I live in is Fedgerfield, and I'm saying to actually all of Rocky Point, the street lights, they are not working effectively. Some now or none at all. And when we come home, especially me and other children have to use that dark road to walk home. We post to anything in the night. So I am asking for street lights in my community and to fix the ones that are not working.
Okay, point taken. Want to respond, Minister?
Remember, I did say that I am concerned and will be engaging JPS around the concerns that have been raised, not just by you, but a number of persons spoke to me earlier today about it. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
right, thank
We're
you.
looking for it speedily.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Good night, sir. Me as an MP and other stakeholders who respond to clean the drain on our beach, on the beach side there. We want to know who responds. Responsibility, I want to know who. The drain them mucky and dirty down there. The drain them want clean. I want to know who responds to it. Come tell me, say, I don't respond, and then I do nothing to it. The drain them bad, they want clean, man. Down there town on the beaches. If you drive good, you'll cry shame at the district right now. I can't tell you that. All right.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Noted. Any other questions? You can go ahead.
Good evening to everyone. My concern is about JPS. The bill. The bill them is so big that some people can't pay light bill. The bill them is so big, and the water commission now, they always telling you that you must pay 10 to 15,000 to put on the water. And if your grandparents are who usual of water on that premises, you have to pay all of that money before you can get water. Not supposed to be like that, because your grandparents, sometimes you don't even want to know them. So how you gonna pay for them money with them dead and gone and left? Where you gonna find that the money they pay that the water bill and they go pay for you? And time is so hard. Where you gonna find them the money there? Young people are come up, some people just are try. Where you gonna find money if you go pay for all of your grandparents' bill before you can get water? Your house. That's not supposed to happen. Me just in the picture now. Me supposed to respond to myself. I'm trying. You're all parents gone. You don't supposed to pay water bill for them. When you're dead, you're dead. If you take out a loan and you're dead, you're dead. You're not supposed to pay water bill for your grandparents. I pay for myself. I'm young enough young people is trying, but all the bill is so big and expensive. They can't pay bill. Enough people have your teeth light, make their light cut off and teeth light because what? The light bill is so big. I'm a young person, I'm just a try. And my light bill big on my pay. I have to pay 40,000 every month. And I'm a young person just trying. I have 4 light and 2 fridge. I'm here pay 40,000. I'm in a run hotel. It's terrible. And when you go to JPS, the battle say you have to pay. Where you get the money from to pay? You're not supposed to pay so many billion young people and them a kill you. Like bill done my bank book like $6,000 in there. Every fan then change me meter. Pay 40 and 30,000. That's not supposed to happen and then change the meter. I mean usual pay 18,000, 15,000, 13,000, 40,000. From January, 6,000 left in my bank book. Not left in there.
Thank you, noted. Sir, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Good night, good evening.
Good evening.
We have a councillor and a mayor, or we don't have an MP. I have nothing more to say.
Hold on. We're not here for that.
Yes, that's it.
I don't know if the water manager is here, but listen, me claimly, Mr. Mackenzie. About 5 years, me not getting no water at me yard. And I go for the pipe stop run. We got water commissioner. And tell them, say, pipe not running, so me can't pay for what me not get. So then keep on, I say, me owe 60,000 and the pipe not run. I water me a fair car. So Mr. Mackenzie, you me do now buy one donkey and put one amp on it, 2 pan like country because me can't pay that the bill. Me so 60-year-old. So, couple days one now, me 60. When me figure get in 60,000, we go pay water commissioner. Oh, in a hard time, you know. So me have to go buy one donkey. Save me buy one and have a country style come. Mr. Mackenzie, they have some thief down at JPS. Me attack. They have some thief down at JPS. You know what they can do?
No, you can't. No. Please, please. No. Withdraw this thing about thief. Stop that. Please.
And then I put it back. Then just come and pull it off. What JPS can come and then kind of pull out. It's sweet like and take it away.
All right.
Thank
Just give the information as to where the light is.
Yeah.
That lady around.
So street, just don't buy.
Just go to that table and just give look behind you. Go to those ladies there. All right?
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me just take the time now to wrap the session up by just thanking some of the persons who have made the day possible. At our head table, let me thank the ministers for coming out, the Director General, Richard Thompson, Acting ODPEM, Mr. Evan Thompson, all the other councillors together. I would like to also invite us all in a second to stand for the national anthem, but I'd like to recognize our media partners outside, the NNN and Power 106, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development team members, the ODPEM team members who are here. Let me say thank you so much. All rise for the national anthem. Thank you. Have a safe drive home.